Morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this presentation. I'm going to take you through basically how I think we should approach Instagram without being too overwhelmed. So, we're going to start with laying some good foundations because I think putting some groundwork in, just having a think about your Instagram strategically before you go into a massive content plan is always a good idea. We're then going to touch on first impressions and how important they are on Instagram. And then we've got quite a big chunk on what to post because I know content doesn't come easy to some people. So, what you can post to Instagram to really gain traction and gain reach and gain engagement. And then some simple tips for organic growth. And then we'll have a good chunk at the end for Q&A, as Julia said. So, laying good foundations for Instagram is important. And what I think is really important is that we remember what Instagram is for. So it's great that some of you are thinking about it as an actual marketing channel for your business because that's exactly what it is. It's not just a popularity competition, as I've just got here. It is for somebody to discover you. It's for you to increase your visibility, to really increase your audience and increase awareness of your business. It is brilliant for increasing visibility. It's also a great place to connect and inspire. And I think this is one of the nicest things about Instagram is that you make amazing connections. And also you can inspire people and you can be inspired yourself. So I want you to think about your Instagram in terms of being helpful for people. If you can be helpful, then you'll gain much more traction. Okay. So think about your content in terms of, am I helping somebody else by posting this? Okay. It's not just a tool for you to blanket kind of self-promotion messages. It's really a tool for you to build a community, to connect with people and to inspire people, okay? And then it's also a place where you can convert. You can convert people, you can convert followers into paying clients, which is obviously what we want it to do. So really think about it in terms of a visibility tool, a community tool, and also a business tool where you can actually drive business from it. And I think also if you drill that down into each individual post, when you're putting a post together, think to yourself, what do I hope to achieve from this post? And then you can work back from that. If you would like to achieve visibility, so your ultimate goal is reach, well, you're going to have to do a certain amount of things, which we'll cover in the growth section later on, in order to reach more people, okay? But actually, if you're looking for connection, you actually want people to converse with you, then you're putting a post together with the ultimate game of getting conversation going, okay? If you want to sell from a post, then obviously you need to talk about your services. So when you're putting a post together, what's my objective from this post? What do I hope to achieve? And then you can work back from that. But always remind yourself what your Instagram is for, okay? And then you'll be a lot more intentional with it. The other thing to always think about is who your ideal follower is. When you're putting one post together, have a think about your objective and then have a think about your ideal reader. Who is it that I want to read this post? Okay. If you know that, then you'll actually be able to create content that's super relevant and helpful to them. Okay. So when you've had a think about your ideal follower, have a think about their motivations. Why is it that they need what you offer in their life? Or why is it that they should follow you on Instagram? Okay, think about their motivations. Think about why they're coming to you. And then you can create content that really solves a problem for them and be useful. You can also craft the right tone of voice. If you are trying to get in front of an audience that is 60 plus, your tone of voice and your messaging will be very different to if your audience is 25 to 30-year-olds. So think about your ideal follower, and then you'll be able to craft the right tone of voice and the right message. And then lastly, when we know who we're talking to on Instagram, we can really think about something called keywords. Now, keywords are really important on Instagram in 2026 and moving forward. And this all comes back to something which is called search engine optimization. Some of you might have heard that term if you've built websites. It's abbreviated to SEO. And basically, you want to think about Instagram not being a social media platform these days, but actually being a search engine. People are using it like Google, and they're going on and they're searching for things. So they go to their explore page and they search for specific topics or products. They might search for a recipe to cook. They might search for white trainers to buy, or they might search for an interior designer in Yorkshire. And if you are using the words that they are searching for in your content, and when I say in your content, it's basically wherever you have text, so captions that you're writing, on-screen captions that you're putting overlaid on reels and images in your bio, wherever you have text, if you're using the words that people are searching for, then you're much more likely to increase your visibility because Instagram will know that your content is for that person and it will match it. Okay. So what you need to do is you need to have a brainstorming session of these keywords. And again, you want to think about who your ideal follower is and think, what would they be searching for on Instagram to find my account? Okay. And I think it really helps if you think about searching like your audience. So let's say you're an interior designer in Yorkshire. Is somebody going to be searching for interior designer in Yorkshire? Or are they going to be searching for soft and calm interiors? Or perhaps they're going to be searching for interiors inspiration. Really have a think about who your ideal reader is and what they might be searching for, and then try and bring those words into your content, okay? Sorry, just to show you how they search. So they go to their explore page here and they put a search term into the search bar up here. So you can see I've put Instagram in here and then they click search. Now you can also use Instagram to have a think about those keywords, because if you put a search term into the explore page on Instagram, Instagram will bring up the top 5 searches that people are making alongside that keyword. Okay, so use Instagram to research your keywords. And actually it's exactly the same on Google. If you go to Google and you put a keyword into the search bar, let's say you put white shades of paint into the search bar on Google. If you scroll down to the bottom of the first page on Google, Google will also show you related searches. So what people are searching for alongside the keywords that you've used. So that's another great way to have a look and have a think about what keywords you could bring into your content. But if you can write down 30 to 40 words and start bringing those regularly into your content, it's a really easy way to try and increase your visibility on Instagram. And one of the most important places you can have keywords on your Instagram is in your bio up here, okay? So your bio is the area at the top here. It also includes your story highlights down here. And essentially we have 2 name fields on our bio. We have our page name at the top, which is the name that we set up our Instagram page with, most likely to be either your name or your business name. You then have what's called your display name, which is the one that appears next to your logo or your profile picture, okay? And it's this display name. This is what you want to include some keywords in, okay? Because it's one of the first fields that Instagram looks at and pulls from to match people's content with and searches. So you can see that my page name is Pink Storm Social. So if people know my business name and they go onto Instagram and they search for Pink Storm Social, I will come up in that search result because it's my page name. If they also search for something a bit more general, like Instagram tips and advice, I have a much higher chance of appearing in that search because I've got Instagram tips and advice as part of my display name here, okay? So after this session, just make sure that your page name and your display name aren't identical. Because if they're the same, you're really missing out on visibility, okay? And the way you change your display name here, because you want to change that one, not your page name, leave your page name as it is, but you can change your display name to include more keywords. You go to edit profile on your page and it's the name field at the top, okay? So just make sure you've got 1 or 2 keywords in that name, display name. Think about it like a tagline for you. Again, think about what kind of business you want to get from Instagram and what that kind of keyword will result in that business, okay? And the other thing I was just going to mention is that if you are Instagram verified, like me, if you've chosen to pay for verification to have the blue tick, you will probably need to re-verify yourself when you change your display name, okay? But really, really just make sure that those 2 name fields aren't exactly the same. Okay, so while we're talking about our bio, let's move on to first impressions. So first impressions on Instagram are hugely important. If we are increasing our visibility and we're posting content that's getting lots of reach, hopefully we're directing lots of traffic to our bio and people are coming onto our page and checking us out, okay? So your bio up here should explain what you do, who you do it for, and why it's important to them. That last one is super important, why it's important to them, okay? Your bio isn't a space for you to write a mini CV about yourself, about your qualifications and what press you've been featured in, okay? It's really a space for you to encourage someone that you are the account for them, okay? So think about what makes you different from other accounts on Instagram and make that really obvious in your bio. I love Amy and Rich's bio at the top, particularly for this line, hosting and care for tech-phobic business owners. Can you see by writing tech-phobic business owners, they're automatically connecting with people who are technophobes. And there are a lot of people who are technophobes on Instagram. So that really speaks to lots of people. So have a little audit of your bio and make sure it's really obvious in your bio why somebody should follow you, why you're different from somebody else, what you can offer them that other people can't, okay? Make sure you include 2 or 3 keywords again in your bio here. And I would really, really persuade all of you, if you're not already, to have a photo of your face at the top here. Try not to hide behind a logo. And this is because Instagram, especially at the moment, is all about connection. It's all about being relatable. It's all about being authentic, especially in the world where AI is rising all the time. People want to feel like they're dealing with a person, not a business and not a logo. Okay. So if you can put your face up here, people will connect to you straight away. Okay. They'll think about you as a person. When I first started my Instagram in 2017, I had my Pink Storm logo at the top. And people used to write me a message and say, "Hi, Pink Storm." And I just got the feeling that it wasn't quite connecting. People weren't really realizing there was a person behind the business. As soon as I changed it to a picture of my face, it made a huge difference. Suddenly people would start messaging Miller and they'd recognize me. They'd automatically relate to me much more. So if you can, be brave and put a photo of yourself at the top of your profile. Okay, let's move on to content and what we should be posting on Instagram in 2026. I think it really helps when you're posting as a business on Instagram to think about your posting in terms of these 4 objectives. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, we're on Instagram to inspire. We're on Instagram to connect. We want to increase our visibility and we want to convert. Okay, so we really want to think about posting around these 4 objectives. So, if you had these 4 objectives at the top of the page and then wrote down underneath all of the posting things that you can post, posting topics that you can post to fulfill those objectives, you will start to build what's called content pillars. And when you've got content pillars, it's much easier to plan your content to make sure that you're doing all you can for your business on Instagram. So if I was going to write your content pillars for you, it would look something like this. If you're going to post an inspirational piece of content, it's going to be tips, how you can be useful for people. It might be frequently asked questions that people ask you all the time that you can answer in your content. It might be your perspective. Anything that you can do to inspire someone will fall under the inspirational content pillar. Connecting. If you're going to post a connecting piece of content, it's going to be perhaps behind the scenes. It might be more storytelling type content. It might be more personal content to you, why you started your business, projects that you're excited to work on in 2026. It might be relatable moments. Anything that is more geared towards you and your business, something that someone's going to relate to or connect with. Okay. If I was going to determine your visibility content, and we're going to talk about this in the growth section a bit later on, but it might be collaborations, and it's also going to be something what's called community call-out reels. If we're posting a piece of content, we're trying to increase our visibility. We're thinking that we're getting into an audience's space that don't currently know us. They're not currently following us, okay? So this means that we're writing to an audience that have never heard of us already. So this is what's called cold content, when you're putting a piece of content out to get in front of people who've never heard of you, okay? So visibility content is very different to inspiring, connecting, and converting content. Because when we're posting, inspiring, connecting, and converting, we're really trying to get in front of our current audience. But actually, when we're posting visibility content, we're trying to expand our reach beyond our current followers. Okay. And then if we're posting converting content, if we're trying to post sales content where we're trying to win new business, it's going to be about your services. It might be testimonials and references from other people. It might be a case study of how you've worked with a client for 6 months and you've taken them from X to Y. It might be project highlights. It might be before and afters. Okay. So think about your content in terms of these 4 pillars. Okay. When you've got these 4 pillars in place, it's then much easier to plan. And Instagram becomes much, much easier if we are consistent. And by easier, I mean you won't be fighting the algorithm all the time if you're posting consistently. Okay. So if you post 5 times one week and then go quiet for 2 months, you really are going to be fighting with the algorithm. Okay. So try and post consistently. I'm not going to tell you how many times a week you should be posting because that comes down to you, how much time you've got and how much good content you've got. If you can, without telling you how many times, if you can post once or twice a week, that's a really good number to aim for, okay? So try and post once or twice a week and try and be consistent. It will really, really help. And if we're going to be consistent, we're going to have a plan in place. Okay. It really helps to have a plan. If you get to a Sunday night and you think, oh my God, I've got to post on Instagram this week, I really don't know what I'm going to post, it becomes a bit of a panic and you end up just throwing content out there without putting any thought behind it. Okay. So really think about planning your content. And what you want to do is you want to rotate these content pillars. So perhaps on Monday, I'm going to post an inspirational piece, okay? Perhaps on the Thursday of that week, I might post a connecting piece. The next week, I'm going to post visibility and converting, okay? So you're constantly rotating these four content pillars, which helps because again, if you come to Sunday night and you think, what am I going to post this week? You can have a look at what you posted last and you want to think, okay, well, I did inspirational and converting content last week. Next week, I should do visibility and connecting content. Okay. So really try and rotate these four content pillars. It helps. Okay. When you're thinking about days of the week to post, again, there's no set rules. Think about what works with your schedule. I tend to set time aside on a Monday morning to plan my content for the week. I think this also really helps to kind of get rid of the overwhelm of Instagram. If you block your time out and really set time aside as opposed to dipping in and out of content creation throughout the week, you'll get into the zone and you'll find that you can plan and write your posts much more easily, especially if you put your phone somewhere else and you're not distracted. So I tend to put an hour aside on a Monday morning and I write my posts for the week, okay? And I then schedule my content. So I set my posts to go out automatically. So I'm not having to think about it in the week. They go automatically for me. So plan your content, set time aside to create that content and then schedule your content. It really, really helps with get rid of that kind of panic feeling of, oh my God, what am I going to post on Instagram? So once you've had a think about what you're going to post, what the content's going to be, you then want to have a think about the format. I find that people get kind of their knickers in a real twist about what format to post on Instagram. And actually, what I want you to remember is the message matters so much more than the format these days on Instagram. So what you're saying matters. That's what's going to grab someone's attention. And the format will come after you've thought about the message. So when you've thought about the message, and what your post is going to be about, then have a think about the format. Does the message lend itself to a carousel of images or a carousel of videos where people are swiping across? A carousel post is where you upload more than one video or image to one post that people manually have to swipe across, okay? Or perhaps it lends itself to a reel, a simple video with a message over the top. Or perhaps it lends itself to a talking to camera piece, okay? Have a think about the message and then have a think about the format. The two formats that are working brilliantly on Instagram at the moment are Reels and carousels, okay? I would urge you, if you're still posting single image posts, probably to lose that format moving forward. And that is because what Instagram is looking for when it's determining whether a piece of content is good or not, it's looking to watch time and it's looking to dwell time. So watch time is relevant when it comes to Reels, how long people are watching your Reels for, okay? If they're watching from the beginning to the end, you'll get good reach. On a carousel, it's the dwell time. Are people spending time scrolling through those pieces of content that you've included in the carousel? If it's yes, then your reach will be good. Unfortunately, with single images, people tend to scroll past them quite quickly, and that doesn't give us good dwell time or watch time, and that's why they're not doing so well. So if I was going to pick two formats, it's going to be Reels and it's going to be carousels, okay? As I said, you really want to grab attention and you want to retain. I'm not going to get really techie with you on the algorithms, but how they work these days is you post on Instagram, okay? Instagram will show that post to your most loyal followers. If they interact, if they take an action on it, Instagram will show it to your less loyal followers. Again, if they interact, the algorithm will think, okay, this is obviously a great post. I'm going to show this to new potential followers. So it's all about the interaction. It's about watch time, it's about dwell time, and it's about people taking some kind of action on your post. Now, this algorithm is for carousels and single images. There is a huge difference between carousels, single images, and reels at this point here at the top. When you post a reel, Instagram automatically shows that reel to a very small percentage of non-followers, new eyes, okay? And this is why your reach from a reel can be much, much more than a single piece of content, okay? Because when you post a reel, Instagram automatically shows it to non-followers, okay? So the main difference there. But really, carousels and reels are where you want to be concentrating. Okay, so we've had to think about what we're going to post. We've had to think about the format. Now we want to think about grabbing someone's attention in the news feed. Okay. Now, as you know, Instagram is a very busy place. There are lots of people fighting for attention. And unfortunately, unless you stop somebody scrolling, you're never going to grab their attention. Okay. People really do decide in 2 or 3 seconds whether they're going to open your post, read it, watch it, and engage with it. And if they are, it's because you grab their attention in the newsfeed. So you can grab their attention by a striking image or a video, or a punchy headline, what's called a hook. I'm sure you've heard people refer to hooks on Instagram all the time. Using hooks has become huge in 2026. Or if you're talking to camera, that's also a really, really great way to grab someone's attention. The way that most people use these days is by using a hook or a headline. You can see here, this was a fairly average video, but the hook is just brilliant. It's better to be the oldest person in the Pilates studio than the youngest person in the nursing home, okay? Now you'll see that people have started using these headlines and hooks on reels and also on carousels and single image posts because they know that by having a title over a visual, it grabs someone's attention so much more. So just think when you're putting a post together, how can I stop someone scrolling and encourage them to read this post in the newsfeed? Okay. So think about stopping the scroll. The other way that people are doing it these days is by telling stories. Now, Instagram has become much more of a storytelling platform, and I'm not talking about huge reams of text here. I'm just talking about telling someone a slight story that they can connect to. So this is a really nice example from two girls called Abby and Roz at Tipley Hill. So they had an art exhibition at their house. They could have just posted 5 images and said, here are the highlights from our art exhibition at the weekend. But instead, they turned it into a brief story. Here's how our art sale at my house went on Sunday and what we learnt from doing it. And then they take people through a few anecdotes about what they learnt and what the sale was about. Okay. It's much more engaging than just having the images and saying, here are the highlights from. You're much more likely to get people swiping through your carousel if you include text overlays and tell a brief story. Okay. Another lovely example is from Jessie at the Art Shed. Lots of people post about podcasts on Instagram, and it's a great thing to do. But if you're just posting clips from your podcasts, it's really hard to get engagement and to get views on that because people find it fairly dull. But if you turn it into a nice story, people are much more likely to engage. So Jessie created this podcast and she used the headline, A Hiring Horror Story from her Creatives in Business podcasts. And then she said, hiring sounds exciting, but in reality, it can be one of the hardest parts of running a business. And then she goes through a brief story about that. And then at the end says, if you want to hear the full story, listen to the podcast. So again, if you can just tell short stories on Instagram, you're going to be onto an absolute winner. And if anyone's not using AI at the moment to help with storytelling, I really encourage you to do so. It's an absolute game changer. If you have a post that you want to put together, let's say you want to show off an amazing project that you've finished. If you write 3 bullet points about that project and you put it into AI and you say, can you turn this into a nice storytelling caption for me? Let me know if you need any more details from me to be able to make this a great story, and it will tell you what it needs, and then it will do the hard work for you. So if you're not using AI at the moment for your Instagram, honestly, you're missing out on a huge time-saving tool because it really is brilliant. So I know lots of people hate kind of talking to camera and keeping it personal and trying to stay visible and relatable by showing their faces. And there are lots of other ways you can do it without showing your face. I'm not going to say that you can do it as well. That's a caveat that I'm going to put in there. Okay, showing your face on Instagram is important. And if someone came to me and said, I'm really stuck, my reach and my engagement is just not going anywhere, what can I do? My first solution would be to show your face, not necessarily talking to camera, just put yourself in the content somehow, okay? Unfortunately, if you scroll down someone's grid these days and you see lots of lovely portfolio pictures, it's a really nice shiny looking grid, but you don't see any people, you don't see any pictures of the person, you're automatically going to switch off, okay? So including photos of yourself is important. If you don't want to appear on camera, then think about doing voiceover reels instead, where you record your voice talking over the top. Okay, it's a really nice way to create a personal piece of content on Instagram. Think about storytelling, telling stories about yourself, putting yourself in your content via the words. Think about putting yourself in the footage. Okay, if you're putting a mood board together in your studio, could you take a quick video or a photo where we can see your hands, not necessarily your face, but see your hands? Again, that creates nice personal content. And then also think about engaging with people. Okay, if you want to stay up to date with people on Instagram and you want to make sure the algorithm knows that you're around, just take 5 minutes a day to engage with people, respond to other people's content, send direct messages, respond to people's Instagram stories. It's a great way to stay visible without having to necessarily show your face. Okay, so definitely engage with people. But if you can, I would really recommend you show yourself in some way. I'm not talking about necessarily talking to camera, but if you can show yourself in some way, it really helps. Especially, I think, sorry, just to go back on that, especially when I think with interior designers, it's a bit like me. It's a personal relationship that you're building with people. People are going to work with you if they feel like you could be friends in real life and they feel like you would get on and they feel like they can trust you. And the way you can get that across is by showing your face, okay? But this is a really nice example of a reel from a shop called Split Figs. I don't know if anyone follows Split Figs, but it's one of my favorite Instagram accounts at the moment. And it's just a nice way of posting a personal piece of content without having to talk to camera. So you can't really read the caption on here, but I'll read it to you. You look happier. I quit a corporate career to open our dream shop in the countryside, and now my lunch hour looks like this. I'll just play it. Can you see? So she's in the video, but she's not talking to the camera, but it's very personable, it's very relatable, and it's very engaging. So you don't have to talk to camera, but if you can bring yourself in and start telling a few personal stories, you'll be on to an absolute winner. The other thing that you want to do from your content on Instagram is you want to guide people. Go back to your objective at the beginning. When you're putting a piece of content together on Instagram, what's my objective? What do I hope to achieve from this? You don't just want to post and then go away. You want to guide someone onto the next step. Instagram's like a wheel. Whenever you're posting a piece of content, you're pushing someone on to the next step of what you want them to do when they've read or watched your content, okay? If you want someone to engage with your content, if you want someone to comment, you really need to be obvious that you want someone to comment, okay? If you want someone to visit your website, or if you want someone to get in touch for more information about how you can help them, tell them what to do. Really important. And you'll hear people refer to these as call to actions. You have to have call to actions in your content. You have to tell someone what action you want them to take when they've read or watched your post. Okay, really important. So always make sure you're pushing people on to the next step. This is how your Instagram becomes a lot more of a converter for you, is if you're actually telling people what to do when they've finished reading or watching your content. So make sure you're doing that in all of your content. Okay. We also want to think about standing out and not looking like the crowd. And I think it's really hard, especially with interior designers, because there are so many on Instagram. You are 100% in one of the most competitive spaces on Instagram, unfortunately. So how can we not look like everyone else? Well, as hopefully I've drummed home, it's about making it personal. Instead of saying, here's a before and after, could you tell a short story? Why we didn't follow the trend with this project? Okay, really think about how you can make your content personal to yourself. Use your projects as stories. Don't just post loads of pretty pictures and make it a portfolio. Make sure you're telling stories that people remember, as I've put here. And can you think about creating some kind of a signature style? And by this, I'm not saying using your corporate colors and bringing your logo into all of your content, because actually that's a real no-no on Instagram. We don't want to be too corporate on Instagram. But can we create a signature style? You know, if Instagram removed your page name at the top, would people still know it was from you? And they would if you're using, you know, the tone of voice that suits you, if you're showing your face occasionally, if you're taking content in similar styles, okay? So really think about creating a signature style. And actually that leads on to series. Creating a series on Instagram is a really good thing to do at the moment. Instagram loves a series. You know, if you're doing interiors tips and you say this is number 1 of 10 tips, people are much more likely to look out for your subsequent tips, or they might go back to your page and look at your previous ones. So think about creating a series in 2026. It's a really good idea on Instagram. Okay, so 3 simple posts that you could post this week to fulfill your objectives. Have you done an introduction type post recently where you're introducing yourself? Again, this is really important to do regularly. Don't assume because you posted an intro post 4 months ago that everyone knows exactly who you are, okay? You should be doing these intro posts regularly. Perhaps a bit of story about you, how to work with you, how you got started, what you've been up to lately, what your hopes are for the rest of the year. do a nice introduction post. Okay, that's an easy post that you can put together this week. Another one could be share what you know. I think the saying never assume someone knows what you know is really crucial when it comes to Instagram. Could you give a quick tip or a piece of advice? Okay. It's amazing that the videos that go viral on Instagram, usually they come back to a simple tip or a piece of advice. I saw one the other day, I'm sure you've seen it. It's by an interior designer, and she puts a piece of perspex under a block of shelves that are being painted, and it just literally says how to stop the paint going on your floor. And she literally just pushes this piece of perspex under the cupboard. It's honestly about 5 seconds long. It's such a simple tip, but it's gone mega viral for her. So think about sharing what you know. Never assume someone knows what you know, okay? And then lastly, can you show some proof? If you've had some nice feedback from someone, could you post that on Instagram? A testimonial or a review, nice message, a nice email someone sent you. Can you turn that into a nice post on Instagram? And this is just showing you that it can be done as a reel, not just a single image. I think lots of people get into Canva, they design testimonial posts, they put them as part of their corporate colors, they post them on Instagram as single images, and then they feel really flat that actually no one engages with that. Actually, a much better way of posting testimonials is to post a quick video and then have the testimonial as the caption going all the way through the video instead. Okay, but think about posting testimonials. So 3 simple posts: introduce yourself, perhaps share a quick tip that you know, and show social proof. Okay, it doesn't need to be complicated. Don't overcomplicate it, is the other thing I would say. Okay, we've talked about grid content and reels. We also need to touch on Instagram stories because they are an important part of the Instagram journey. Now, there's a big difference between grid content, and when I talk about grid content, I mean when we're actually posting to our grid. So we're posting images, we're posting carousels, and we're posting reels, okay? Instagram stories are very different in that they are only shown to our current followers. Grid content is where we can increase our visibility, we can get in front of new audiences, anyone can see that content, okay? Instagram stories, only our current followers, people who've tapped follow, see our Instagram stories. Unless somebody we know has come onto our page, they're not currently following us, and they've opened up our stories. Yes, they will then see your stories. But 90% of the audience that see your stories are already following you. So I think they're a much kind of safer space. It's a bit more of a relaxed space because we know those people are already following us. They've chosen to follow us. Okay, so they want to see our content. So that's the main difference. I also think that probably 70% of people who open Instagram these days go straight to their Instagram stories and have a quick flick through. They might scroll down their grid 2 or 3 times a day, but people predominantly are spending more time in Instagram stories. So if we want to convert people into paying clients, we're going to do that much more through our Instagram stories than through our grid content, okay? So people think that Instagram stories are just for showing behind the scenes and a bit of what we're up to when we're on a nice dog walk and when we're having a nice coffee in a cafe. And they are for that, don't get me wrong. That connecting piece is still important, but actually the sales content that we post to Instagram stories is super important. Because as I said, if you're going to convert someone into a client, it's going to be someone who knows you already, okay? And therefore, those are the people who are seeing our Instagram stories. So if you've got a completed project and you post it to your Instagram stories and you say, if this is a type of project that you want me to work on, get in touch with me. Somebody's much more likely to do that from your Instagram stories than a grid post, okay? So really think about your stories content quite strategically. If you're not posting any sales content to stories, try once and twice a month to post sales content to stories, okay? But predominantly, how I like to think of stories are my grid is my main stage, it's my shop front. My Instagram stories is where I invite people backstage, or perhaps someone comes into the shop and they have a chat with me over the counter. Okay, that's the easiest way to think about it. But please don't neglect your Instagram stories. Also, just to mention that the algorithms on Instagram are all linked, okay? So there are lots of different algorithms, but they're all linked. And actually, if somebody views your Instagram stories and perhaps they like it or they send a message from it, the next time you post, that post will be prioritized in their news feed because the algorithm has seen that they viewed your stories and they've engaged with your stories. Therefore, these sales see more of your grid content. So by posting regularly to stories, you can actually increase the reach of your grid posts, which is brilliant. Okay, let's move on to growth and how we can really think about posting content that will increase the visibility beyond our immediate audience. So we're really thinking about posting content here to get in front of new audiences, okay? And the one way to do that, I think the best way to do that is via something that's called community call out reels. So this is when you're calling out to your ideal audience on Instagram. So this is a classic example I did here on the left-hand side, and I run this one quite regularly. You're a very busy person who finds the Instagram side of things exhausting and just wants someone to explain it in plain English, and you find my account. Can you see the tone and the message that I'm using on that reel is specifically for people who aren't currently following me? This is the content type that people feel most awkward about posting, but it's one of the most important content types that you post. Because if you're always posting to your current followers, if your tone of voice is very familiar and perhaps you start with a line saying, following on from my post last week, you're never going to get in front of new people. Okay. So you really do have to make sure that you're posting community call out posts regularly, talking to your ideal audience, saying to them, I am the account to follow if you feel X, Y, and Z. If you love colour and you're sick of shades of grey in people's houses, come and have a look at my latest project, something like that. Okay. So really think about creating content for new people and writing for people who don't know you yet. Now, if you are feel a bit cringe about posting this kind of content, one of the easiest ways to get over that is to post this content as a trial reel. I don't know if any of you've heard of trial reels before, but trial reels are great on Instagram. When we post a trial reel, Instagram only shows that to people who've never heard of our account before, okay? It shows it to a cold audience. What I think it does is it looks at our current followers and basically creates a lookalike audience, people who are similar to our current followers, and it shows that trial reel to new followers. So when you go to post on Instagram, if you're posting a reel, when you come to the final posting screen, you'll see just above the share button, there's a little button called trial. And if you toggle that button on, Instagram will only show that reel to new audiences. You can only post trial reels. You unfortunately can't post trial carousels or trial single images, okay? But if you feel a bit cringe about posting this kind of content, just simply post it as a trial reel because none of your followers will see it. And you can start to really test what works with new audiences by posting trials regularly. So I quite often play around with this headline and this hook in trials to see what works better. It's amazing how a small change in word can make a huge difference when you're getting in front of new people. So I put a reel together the other day and it said something like, if you run your household like a CEO. And then I changed it to if you run your house like a CEO. And it created a lot more views than household because people related to house more. So think about your words and think about your tone quite carefully. Again, if you're thinking about putting a post together for new people, AI is your best friend. If you write a caption and you say, I'm really trying to get this content piece in front of new eyes, this is my ideal audience on Instagram. What word or what message can I use to get in front of new people? AI will do the heavy lifting for you. Okay, so again, can't recommend AI enough. So think about creating content specifically for new people. You also want to think about collaborating. So collaborating is such a great way to get in front of new audiences on Instagram. Essentially, you're creating one piece of content that can be posted to a few pages simultaneously. Okay, so you can collaborate with up to 5 people on an Instagram post or a reel these days, which is amazing. It means that one piece of content goes to all of those audiences and you're driving traffic to each other's pages. Okay. So you really, really can double your reach without doubling your workload. So think about people you could collaborate with on Instagram. It's not going to be direct competitors, but perhaps it's people who work in your industry. Maybe it's photographers or maybe it's suppliers. Think about who you can collaborate with. We should all really be planning 2 or 3 collaborations every year. And we posting those posts simultaneously. They go to each other's pages. It's a great driver of reach and growth for us. Okay, so think about how you can collaborate on Instagram. Okay, let's have a quick whiz at how we can make it easier for yourself. How can we make Instagram much easier? Okay, the first thing I will say is you've got to be taking content on your phone regularly. When you're putting a post together, it's so much easier if you've got videos and photos in your camera roll that you can choose from. If you think, God, I've got no photos and no videos, you're going to make content creation much, much harder. So try to digitally document your working week through your phone if you can. You might take some photos and videos and not use them for a couple of weeks. You might actually not use them till the end of the year when you do a 2026 roundup reel. But at least you've got that content saved on your camera roll, okay? So try if you can and really make sure whenever you're in work mode, whether it's meetings, whether it's sat at your desk putting mood boards together, whether it's going to visit projects on site, you're taking content on your phone. And remember that that content doesn't need to be perfect. Perfection is the killer of all joy on Instagram, I would say. And people really like having perfect grids, but actually, that's not what it's about these days. Your perfect content is for your website, okay? That's really where the perfect stuff has to go. Instagram is all about being relatable and about being authentic. And actually, Adam Mosseri, head of Instagram, did a great post at the beginning of this year that said that perfection is killing content. And actually, the content that's going to do the best on Instagram these days is that authentic content. So if you've got a video of a bricklayer laying bricks on site, take a video of it, okay? It doesn't matter that it's not perfect. People will relate to it. And as I said, it's the message over the top that's the most important thing. So take content whenever you're in work mode, okay? Like I said, when I was talking about consistency, set time aside. Honestly, I can't recommend this enough. Set time aside to create your content. If you can set 45 minutes to an hour aside to write a few posts in one go, you'll make your life much, much easier. I've also put don't leave posting to the end of the day, but I also think don't leave content creation to the end of the day is important. I think doing it at the beginning of the day, I mean, it depends when you're in your most kind of like, what's the word, productive mode. Definitely for me, that's in the morning. But if you can block out those times when you know you're going to be most productive, that it will really, really help. If you are brave enough to talk to camera and you think you could talk to camera 2 or 3 times, then do it all in one go. Again, this really helps. You get into the zone. And if you have a change of outfit, then you can record 2 or 3 videos. And when you post them on Instagram, it will seem like you've recorded them at different times. So get into the zone of talking to camera. And if you can, record 2 or 3 talking to camera reels at the same time. And as I said, use AI, not necessarily ChatGPT, but use AI. It really does help when it comes to Instagram. The other thing that really helps is repeating and repurposing. You don't have to come up with new content ideas all the time, okay? Instagram is actually about saying the same thing over and over in different ways. This is a classic example from our Honest DIY, a great account on Instagram. So they post about this shelf which has a secret cupboard, and they post about it over and over again, and it always does well for them, okay? So don't think if you've had a good piece of content, you can't talk about it again. Think about repeating, saying the same things, but in different ways. It works so well on Instagram, okay? And the other thing that you can do is you can change your format. So if you've had a reel that's done particularly well, could you change it into a carousel or vice versa? This is a classic example. I posted this reel at the end of last year. Things you potentially happened on your Instagram yesterday that you didn't see. The reel did really well for me. So a couple of months later, I turned it into a carousel. Pretty much exactly the same message, but a different format. And it did really well for me again. People honestly don't mind seeing repetition. And also, nobody's going to scroll back to your grid and think, oh my gosh, you posted the same thing 2 months ago. Like they just won't. So please repurpose, reuse. It really is a time saver. Think about 2 or 3 key messages that you want to be known for on Instagram and repeat those through all of your content, okay? Repeating and repurposing is such a great thing to do. Okay, so I know that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but just to give you an action plan to go away with. So don't overcomplicate Instagram again, okay? Sometimes the simple is the best. Don't overcomplicate. Don't think that every piece you do has to be this really big thought out piece. Actually, if you're just telling a short story, you're keeping it personal and you're keeping it relatable, that's a great way to approach it. Make sure your bio is nice and friendly and approachable. Make sure it's really obvious from your bio why somebody should follow you. Brainstorm those keywords and make sure you bring keywords into all of your content wherever you have text. It will be amazing at increasing your visibility. Try and plan your content if you can to post twice a week with a few Instagram stories here and there. If you're going to post twice a week, I would recommend that one of those be a reel and one be a carousel. Think about the everyday conversations you're having as well and think about turning those into posts. People always say to me, I've got nothing to post on Instagram. And I just say, those conversations you're having every day with clients, that makes brilliant content, okay? And then lastly, take those photos and short videos every week and document your working week. That is the end. I hope that was really helpful. We've got lots of times for questions. Please feel free to ask away.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Miller. Okay, so jump in, folks.
Has anyone got any questions? No?
I do. I do. Hello.
Hi, Sonia.
Hi. Thank you, Miller. That was Brilliant. Really, really
Okay.
helpful. Thank you.
Good, I'm so good.
I made a note, question about the profile where you said to change the second line down, so not the username, but the
Yeah,
next name, the display name.
yeah,
Was it?
yes, that was the one.
Um,
Do you want
does
me to
it,
show you?
do you have to have your name in there?
No, but I would recommend that you have your name somewhere on your bio. So if you haven't got it as part of your business name at the top and you haven't got it as part of the text, let me just share my phone screen so I can actually show you.
Sorry.
No, don't be
Really
silly.
poor reception.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for my phone to come up if it comes up at all. It's not going to come up, which is great. But essentially, you want your name somewhere in your bio. So it doesn't have to be part of that display name, no, but just make sure that it is somewhere, okay? Because you want someone to
Somewhere in the
say, hi,
bio.
Sonia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Thank you.
no worries. Caroline, did you have a question?
I did, yeah. Hi, it was
Hi.
super useful, super
Oh, good.
useful.
Okay.
I was just thinking about threads is something I've seen, but I've never used. So kind of is that important? And also your thoughts about when you post, would you post to Instagram and Facebook? Kind of that double post.
Great questions. Sorry, I'm just going to take some water. So, Threads is essentially another social media app that Instagram brought out probably about 2 years ago now. If anyone used to use Twitter in the early days when it was great, it's very like Twitter. And the main plus point I would say about Threads is that you can do text only posts. So you don't need to have a visual, you don't have to have a video or a photo. Instagram has said that your reach will increase if you're posting regularly to Threads, but I have seen no shred of evidence that that is true. So I would say try and do one platform really well as opposed to spreading yourself across two. If you like text only posts and you like getting into conversations with people on social media, then Threads is a great place to do that. It's like Twitter, it's a conversational platform. People are there for conversations. But if you've only got time to do one or two platforms really well, I would say for most interior designers, that's going to be Instagram and LinkedIn, if I'm going to be honest. Cross-posting from Instagram to Facebook. Again, if you just want to have a Facebook page that's got some content on it, you're not necessarily thinking of using Facebook as a massive business driver, then yes, cross-posting is a really good way to tick that box, just to have a page ticking over. But actually, if you think your audience is on Facebook, and I would say that if you are marketing to a slightly older generation, they feel like they've got Facebook nailed, they're on Facebook a lot, then I would try and post natively to Facebook because your reach is always going to be better if you're posting natively to Facebook. The content can be exactly the same, but you're just not cross-posting. You're actually posting in Facebook itself. Does that help?
Yeah, I think I use like Meta Business.
Yes, perfect. If you're
Yeah,
using
okay.
Meta Business Suite, that's perfect. Have you noticed that your audience is on, Caroline? Do you get some engagement there?
I've got nothing on Facebook. I've not posted to
Yeah.
Facebook at all yet. So that's why I was wondering whether to start putting them on there as
I
well.
think Facebook is good. I think if you are marketing to people who are, let's say, 50 plus, then Facebook can work really well. And I think Facebook groups are amazing. But it is a slightly more kind of memes work really well on Facebook. It's a bit more informal. It's quite a difficult platform to master, if I'm going to be honest.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
no worries. Anyone else?
Miller,
Yeah.
just with regard to consistency on timing of posting,
Yeah.
I haven't got 200 followers yet, and I'm finding it so difficult
It is difficult. I will
to,
say that getting to
to
your first 1,000 is really, really difficult. When you
just
reach a
so
thousand, it
hard,
gets better. Yeah.
so hard. You know, you think you've posted a piece of great content, and
Uh,
you just look at the results and think, oh God.
yeah.
Anyway, I'm not going to get hung up on that. But
Good.
what I am wondering is there a benefit to consistency around you always post at 3 o'clock on a Wednesday? You know, because I've tried to look back on my insights and look at when is best to post. And I can't really see
Yeah.
on the posts that have got better reach, I can't really see a significant time. You know, nothing comes through as consistent. So am I better to create that consistency?
So I think it's a kind of posting times is like a layer on the cake, if that makes sense. So the message and the hook and how you grab attention is the icing, definitely. And then let's say the time of day is the candles on top. Basically, you want to be posting when your audience is on Instagram or likely to be coming onto Instagram soon. So 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I would say, is not a good time to post because people are generally winding down for the day, perhaps going out on the school run. Generally, early morning or early evening works better. So
Yeah.
if I post by 7 a.m., it does much, much better than if I post at 8 a.m., let's say.
Okay.
So you definitely want to post in terms of when your audience is online. I think the consistency comes down to you. I know that I post early in the morning and that my post is pretty much the first one lots of people see because I regularly post at that time. So yes, I think it does help. But having said that, the message is the most important thing.
Okay.
But I find if I post at the same time, I do get into the swing of it more for sure.
Mm.
Posting times generally before 7 a.m., between 12 and 2, or around 5 and 6 are the best times to post. And also, don't forget the weekends. That's another thing to say is that weekends are amazing times to post because people are in a slightly more relaxed scrolling mode at the weekends. So if you can schedule a post to go out on a Saturday or on a Sunday, it generally tends to be a good idea.
Okay, great. Thanks. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi,
Hi.
Miller. I've got one. Hi.
Miller, Rose here.
Hi.
Thank you very much. Really useful information.
Oh, sorry.
Cool.
No, go for it, Rose. Don't worry, Debbie, I'll come
Okay.
back to you.
Okay. Just a question. I've started to notice where you're generating imagery using AI, Instagram is now starting to tag that content with an AI content label. What are your thoughts on that? Because I'm sort of hesitating a little because I'm thinking, is it sort of questioning the authenticity of the content?
So yes, Instagram, and you have to add that label if you have created
Yeah.
an image, you have to. I think it's a tricky one, if I'm going to be honest, Rose, because I think Instagram have said that authentic content will work best. I've never tested AI images on my account. So I think you have to take the results based on that individual post. If you've noticed that a post with an AI label is doing significantly worse, then I'd stop posting that AI content. But if you've noticed it doesn't make a huge difference, then carry on posting it. I think obviously AI is going to get bigger and bigger, and we're going to see it more and more on Instagram. But I'd say we're only at the very, very beginning. So there are lots of people who hate AI, and therefore, if they see that label, they won't engage. I'm going to be honest. But perhaps this time next year, they'll be a lot more used to it, so they will engage. We have to see how it goes.
Striking the right balance, I guess, at
It
this
really
stage.
is.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
No worries. Debbie, you've moved around on my screen, so you're over here then.
Yeah, sorry, I can't even see myself on here. That's how good I am on here. So I just wanted to ask about creating reels.
Yeah.
It's probably a bit of a loaded question, but I could just do with some tips. There's so much advice out there on how to create them. I know about the content, but it's the light, where to stand, how long this should be, what microphones. You see so many people holding these microphones. There's several things. I know a lot of people doing it. And there's a lot of things that I don't like about it. And I don't like how people are looking down and they got their face in. So I'm just struggling to find the best natural way to, I'm going to be starting a new service that I really need to know, I need to engage.
So you're talking about talking to camera pieces here, talking to camera.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think I'm actually just going to make sure my phone does share this time. So if you can stand with natural light in front of you, you'll be onto a big winner straight away. So natural light coming onto your face will automatically create a much more lighter and oh, that's annoying. I'm just going to see if this updates. A lighter and better video than if you've got natural light behind you. Okay. If you're thinking about where to look, always look at the camera lens at the top of your phone, not at your face on the screen, always at the camera lens at the top. Okay. And then when someone's watching your video, they'll feel like you're looking directly towards them. I think it also helps to have the phone slightly higher than your face. If you go slightly lower, people feel like they're looking up to you. If you go slightly higher, it creates a much more of a kind of a natural visual piece. So just put the phone slightly higher. The other thing I would say is, Debbie, have you heard of the app Edits?
Yes, I do use Edit.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so the teleprompter in Edits. Do you ever use the teleprompter?
Well, I haven't done one yet, but I've been trialing it, and that really helps, doesn't it? And
that's really helpful.
Creating the script in AI.
Yeah,
I've kind of got that. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well done. So if anyone doesn't know, so a teleprompter in the app Edit. So Edits is an app that Instagram have brought out to make Reels creation easier. It means that you can put your script of what you want to say into the teleprompter, and then when you're recording it, you can just literally read the script. Okay, it's so much easier. It honestly saves me taking 20 takes of the same talking to camera piece. The other thing about length, Debbie, is I think if it's a service that you're predominantly kind of marketing to your current followers, you don't need to think about the length of the reel quite so much. But I would say 15, 20 seconds is probably the max that you want to aim for with each one. If a talking to camera piece is 30, 40 seconds, it has to be really good for someone to watch to the end. And obviously, if you're going to get lots of reach and views on your reel, it's because people are watching from the beginning to the end. Okay. So I would say 15 seconds is probably what you want to aim for. Make sure you're always adding closed captions so that the 80% of people who are watching your reel without sound can still hear what you're saying because they read it. So add closed captions, and then also make sure that as well as those closed captions, you have a hook in the first 2 or 3 seconds if you're talking to camera pieces, a title or something like this service is for you if X, Y, and Z. Just think about how you're going to grab someone's attention in the news. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And what about sound,
Oh, you asked about
microphones?
microphones. So it's an interesting one because I bought this microphone, I'm going to say a year and a half ago, and I can honestly say it hasn't been taken out of its box once. I don't think you need any microphones. I
Oh,
think
that's good to know.
if you're somewhere quiet, all of my reels, honestly haven't used a microphone for any of my talking to camera reels.
Oh, that's interesting.
I really don't think you need to invest in them unless what
Mm.
you want to do is you want to move around. You
Mm.
see lots of people moving around or moving into the camera or walking through a project and talking at the same time. In that case, a microphone will help. But no, I don't think if you're just simply talking to camera, you don't need one.
Don't need it. That's great. Thank you, Miller. That's
No
great.
worries. Hi, Claire. Oh, there you are.
Hello, sorry.
All right.
Sorry, I'm sorry if there's any background noise. Just really quickly, when you were chatting earlier about, let me find it, our display name and then about a tag name underneath. Well, I've just had a look on mine and I can't see, I don't have a tagline.
What's your page name, Claire?
So it's studio.vine interiors. Studio.vine.interiors, sorry.
I've got you there, yeah. Oh, interesting. I wonder if you have a business or a creator account, Claire. I wonder if you're on a personal account at the moment. Do you know?
I don't know.
Right,
I wouldn't actually know where to find.
I can tell you where to find it. If you've got your Instagram open on your phone.
I've got it open, yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to remind myself where it is. If you go to your settings, so when you're on your profile page, go to the 3 little lines in the top right-hand corner.
Perfect, yes.
Yeah. And then can you see about halfway down the page, there's 4 professionals and you'll have business tools and controls. Can you see that?
Yes. No.
What have you got?
I've got insights, meta verified, not subscribed, and account type and tools. Ah, there you go.
Go into account type
and tools.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now what can you see? Can you see at the bottom switch account type?
No, it says request verification other. Let's have a look there.
I think you're definitely on a personal account, Claire.
I can't see how to switch it though.
It doesn't say anything at the very bottom saying.
Oh, it says account type at the top. Professional. I don't know if you can see it because it keeps blurring it out. Professional.
Tap into there. What does it say now?
Public. It says professional public. It does say here about switching account type.
If you tap on that, if you tap on that switch account type, what options does it give you?
So it says switch to personal or switch to business. So if I tap switch to business,
so
switch to a business.
Yeah. That is interesting. I'm going to write that down and send you a message in a bit, Claire.
Oh, thank you.
How bizarre.
Yeah, so hopefully, now I've got trial reels has popped up.
Oh, good.
Get access to more tools. Brilliant. Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you.
Go back now into your profile and see if you've got that name.
Let's have a look. So if I
go to your page, your grid page, and tap edit profile.
Edit profile. No, it still says name, username.
Oh, it's the name. It's the name
bio.
It's name at the top, Claire.
Name at the top. Okay, so where it says, oh crumbs, sorry, it keeps on blowing. So where it says name at the top there.
That's the field. That's your display name, the one that appears next to your logo.
So that's the display name. And then where's the tag and the tagline you said?
No, so that's the same one. So the name field is you want to make like a tagline for your business, if that makes sense. So interior designer or well, I don't know if any of you all have anything other than interior designer, but think about what you want to be known for and what people will be searching to find you. Interior
Great.
studio, you've got on your Zoom. If you've got
I
interior studio.
have. So I need to. So that is equal to the tagline.
Yeah, that's the one.
Brilliant. Thank you very
Camilla,
much. Grateful.
Yeah.
Just on that, I've got my name and then I've got Coco Interiors. So should I change Coco Interiors because it's
Yes, definitely, Debbie.
so just interior design.
Interior design, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries. Stephanie, hi. Sorry, Caroline, I'll come to you next.
Hi. Well, thank you so much for this presentation. I'm very much a novice, so I feel like you've really given a really comprehensive picture. I feel better about diving in now. So thank you for that.
Welcome.
I had a question about captions and hashtags.
Yeah.
I think this is an area where there's been some evolution.
Mhm.
On accounts that I'm interested in, I actually do personally read captions quite a bit. So I don't know if that's just me or a general thing. I also am often interested in who is cited in those captions. So other accounts that might be mentioned. I'm wondering if that's a useful thing to incorporate into one's own content. And citing a brand, for instance, that you may have used, or your architect, or I don't know, anything to kind of generate some more community, perhaps.
Yeah.
And I'm also wondering about hashtags and where they've gone. I feel like no one cares anymore, which is fine. But what are your thoughts on that?
Great. So I'll do those in two bits. So the first thing about tagging people in a caption is, yes, it is a nice way to grow a community. But what people tend to do is they tend to, especially interior designers and people in the event space, is they tag kind of 5 suppliers or 5 people they've worked with on a project. And what that ultimately is doing is sending your reader to 5 other different accounts. And what you want to do is keep people on your account for as long as possible. So if you want to mention another brand, I would just write it as opposed to tagging them, if that makes sense. So just write their name as opposed to tagging. So that's the best way to do it. Obviously, if you want to tag someone because you want them to be notified that you are talking about them, then you have to tag them, okay? Because they won't just be notified if you just write their brand name. But if you are going to tag other accounts, keep it to 1 or 2. Don't just kind of lift 5 suppliers that you've worked with just for the sake of listing it, okay? So that's the first one. The second one is hashtags. You're absolutely right. They have gone through a massive evolution, and keywords and the words that we use in our content have taken over from hashtags now. Okay. So it used to be that the algorithm scraped hashtags to know what our post was about and who to show it to. But the algorithm has also got much, much better. So now it scrapes our content. It doesn't look for hashtags anymore. It just scrapes our content and looks at the words that we're using. However, having said that, people do still search via hashtags. So they might put hashtag interior designer to search. And therefore, if you use that hashtag, you might appear in their searches. So the recommendations at the moment are to use 3 hashtags on a post that you do. And what you want to do is make sure that the hashtags are completely specific to what you're posting about. So let's say you did a post about tablescaping in the summer. If you use 3 hashtags and you put tablescaping, candlesticks, summer day, the algorithm is thinking, oh, I don't know what this post is about. I don't know who to show it to. Keep them all on one theme. So tablescaping, summer table, and perhaps tablescaping ideas, something like that. Okay. But don't get your knickers in a twist. Don't spend 10, 15 minutes trying to think of the right hashtags. The words in your caption are much more important. Okay.
Perfect. Great. Thank you.
No worries.
So Camilla, Caroline, I think you maybe had one more question, and then I think we should wrap up because we've pushed over the hour that I think I indicated to Camilla she would be with us for. So Caroline, go ahead if you've got a follow-up.
Quick one, just going back to accounts. I'm on a professional account and you mentioned a creator account. Which one should you be on?
So the only main difference is if you have a bricks and mortar place that you're trying to promote, Caroline, you need to be on a business account to have that in your bio. Otherwise, you can be on a business or a creator. There's very little difference between the two. The only thing about business is that you have limited access to music. So if you notice that you haven't got all of the music choices when you come to create a reel, then switch to a creator account and you'll get all of it. Okay,
There's no disadvantage of being on a creator.
No, not at all. I'm on a creator. It works for me, so I keep it as that.
Okay, perfect. And just one thing, stories, turning them into highlights. Is there any point doing that, or?
Yeah, definitely. So highlights, if you have story highlights going across the top of your page, what you can effectively do is permanently save an Instagram story that obviously usually only runs for 24 hours to live on your page permanently. So if you've done a story that's perhaps about you or a testimonial or recent projects or answering a question, then definitely save it so it sits at the top of your page. What you don't want to do, Caroline, is save highlights from when you went to Saint-Tropez in 2024, because that doesn't work for your business, if that makes sense. So make sure that it's always business content that you've got saved as highlights there.
Okay, but that helps as well. I think
yeah, it's really good. People come onto your page, they have a quick flick through your story highlights and get a sense for who you are, how you can help them, and what you offer, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
Well, Miller, thank you so much. I have to say that was every bit as good as I hoped it was going to be, which means it was bloody good. So thank you so much for your time today. That was really helpful. And speaking personally, I'm going to cook this now on you and put it up on YouTube. I'm going to watch this 2 or 3 times, because I wished I was taking notes, but there was just so much there that was really helpful. And the other thing about it was that it was in your characteristic calm style that sort of takes the heat and the anxiety, for me anyway, out of talking about Instagram. So enormous thanks from all of us, I'm sure, for giving us your time today. We're very appreciative of it. And if people want to work with you, I know you've got your membership, haven't you? And you've got other services that you offer. So what's the best way in?
So yeah, there's 3 ways you can work with me. I've obviously got my membership, and that's really for accountability and sense checking. So if you're someone who would like daily contact, ask questions, someone who needs to be prodded to post, then the membership's the best way. It's called Insta Support. You can also work one-to-one with me, which is what I did with Julia, which is always I love doing because it gets into the crux of your business. Or I've got some online courses, but everything can be found on my website, which is pinkstormsocial.co.uk. And I'm around all the time. So if you've got any questions, just drop me a message on Instagram or send me an email. I'm always happy to help.
That's absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Nice to see everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.